Hosted in conjunction with Chris Media, the CEO interview series allows investors to hear directly from the CEOs leading the companies featured on Wholesale Investor. Enjoy the interview and reach out via the details in the description.
Hi and welcome to another Crisp TV Q&A. Today I'm joined by Brad Hill, co-founder of Limestone Coast Brewing. Thank you for joining me today, Brad.
Yeah, g'day, Sydney. Thanks for having me.
Brad, look, just to set us on the right course today, can you start by telling the audience and I who exactly Limestone Coast Brewing is, the value proposition you bring to the market of craft beers? Let's just start with that for now.
Yeah, certainly, Sydney. Look, Limestone Coast Brewery, it's one of 1,000 craft breweries in Australia, but we are significantly different and very unique in what we do. So, founded by a couple of engineers and myself, we essentially split the brewing process in half. And the reason we did that is that, craft breweries as a business, they're not really generally designed to make money. They're more of a passion play where people are making great craft beer. They're really into the art of making beer. But, what we've done is essentially looked into that really deeply and looked at where the value chain makes its most money and really built both some really interesting technology, a lot of know-how and a lot of deep science, which we've patented, by the way, to deliver the craft beer brewery experience, great quality beer in venues where we're selling it at the point where it makes the most money. So
Understood.
In the craft beer world, when you're buying a pint, you're paying $12 a pint in a venue. $24 a litre. The gross margin is something like $17 by the time you at a venue level. So where that compares, most craft breweries set up, they open their cellar door out the front, they make great beer, and they're sitting there making those sorts of returns at the cellar door. And then to really try and make it and crack it and work towards a trade sale as groups like Bolter or Pirate Life have, where they get very, very significant multiples on their turnover. They need to then get into canning and kegging. Now, canning and kegging is really a logistics play, very, very low margins, massively competitive. So what we really sort of understood as the business model right from the day we started the business, 5 years ago, was we want to create cellar doors. And so we split the brewing process between the hot part of the process and the cold part of the process. Now, what you can see behind me here, I'm in one of our venues. I got the T-shirt on too. So this is Long Neck Brewery. It's on the Swan River in Perth. And we actually do the cold part of the process. What I mean by that, it's where the beer ferments, where it actually becomes beer, where we dry hop, we filter, we gas, a lot of active things. And I don't know it on timing wise, but every now and again, this thing in behind me here is going to kick to life and make noises because it's actively brewing right now. And so we serve straight from these tanks. So when the crew behind the bar are pouring a pint or a paddle, it's coming straight out of these tanks. And that's the best way to drink beer. When you put beer into cans and kegs, not only is it low margin, it also it drops in flavor, or particularly the hop oils and the aromatics really drop off because in the canning process, it gets exposed to a little bit of oxygen, and in the kegging process, kegs get left out in the sun, they get hot. Both of those things destroy flavor. It's much like your morning coffee. You don't drink it tomorrow. It tastes good today. So what we've done in our business model is by splitting that process, our hot plant essentially can deliver 20 of these venues. And if each of these venues is doing 100,000 litres a year with a $17 gross margin, and by the way, in our first 9 months of operation here in Perth, which has been a bit of an average market, we've been open, yes, but certainly not hitting what we know we will, and we're very comfortable we will. We've still managed to do 93,000 litres in our first year and get 100% return of cash that we invest into the business back. So what we've done is we've proven it. We've spent the last 5 years proving this. And now we're looking, and the reason we joined in with Wholesale Investor is we're now looking to raise, we've got a plan to raise $10 million, roll out, build ourselves from 3 to 10 venues in Perth and replicate what we've done here in Melbourne. So,
Brad, can I ask you something about? So you've given us quite a bit there to digest. So let me ask you this: because I was just writing notes as you were speaking there, when you talk about the interaction between those who are actually engaging in business with you, can you talk to us more about that interaction with the restaurants and the bars that you deal with? What's the value key unique selling point that they see with when you pitch them, obviously, and have you seen that already? Have you seen that already take place so far?
so that's a really interesting question. We've been on quite a journey. When we first started, we were a B2B model, so we were looking for venues that wanted to become a craft brewery, and so we originally built our service offering for that. And at that stage, we're brewing for $1.40 a litre, and we're selling it to sort of $4.80 a litre into the venues. What we found, though, is that there were some really significant barriers to entry. It's Carlton United, Lion Nathan, Asahi. They've bought up all the taps in these established venues. So we were only really getting venues that were either distressed or some had something going on that were really engaging with us. And look, our first venue, when we took them on as a B2B customer, we quadrupled their beer sales. They went from 1,500 litres a month and got themselves up to 6,000 litres a month. Now, that venue made $1 million profit that year, and the owner of the venue went on holiday for most of it, right? We thought that was a great success. We're just going to sit back now, take the orders, right? Didn't happen. As I said, most venues are already signed up. And similarly, the second part to that is he nicked off and went on holiday. And so while we got to 60,000 litres of beer that year, sales through that venue could do 4 times as much. But he wasn't driving it as a craft brewery. He was just sitting back, rubbing his hands. So we kind of learned that. And the second thing, then at the end of year 2, COVID starts to hit, and then he's sitting there wanting a price reduction. And then, look, I understand why, but there we are with competitive tension. We've made him $1 million, and he wants to make more money. Now, respectfully, he's a lovely guy. I rate him very highly. Good business, right? But that's why we actually made the decision that we want to go B2C. We want our own venues. But the important thing is each venue is branded uniquely. We're not about making a Nando's where the same experience when you go into, every Nando's, you get the same meal. While the science enables us to do that, the beautiful thing about craft beer is the variety of flavors. When we first built our commercial scale rig, we already had 250 recipes. Now it's through the roof. Like we can essentially, through the technology that we've got, push and pull the flavors and the process from the lightest of light beers to the darkest of stouts, the reds, the pales, the hazy Neepers. We even made a copy of an English beer with nitrogen. Was it Smith's? And we've had people from Perth driving the length and breadth of Perth to come try that beer because it's exactly like what they were getting back in England. So our science enables us to do all these different flavors, and we want to create a unique experience. So in our venues, initially we've been creating a brand like Longneck. But what we've also found on the journey is we've started brewing for a couple of the other sort of major brands. So Nail does 1 million litres a year in Perth, and they're in Australia, but they're a local Perth brand. They've taken 20 years to get to that stage, by the way. Now, we brew for them. They're keen to expand as we go to the East Coast to have Nail branded venues. And similarly, three Ravens out of Melbourne. Now, they won 40% of the popular vote at like a BWS event around Christmas time as the best local craft brewery. And now they're going into a joint venture with us into a venue. We're brewing for them and providing kegs into the local market for them. But that actually helped formulate what is our plan. Yep. So I've mentioned that we're raising $10 million and that we're going to be building out in Perth and going to Melbourne. And we're looking to build 5 venues in Melbourne straight away. That's on the path to listing. So we're aiming to do that over the next 2 years and be looking to list 6 months to 12 months from there. It will be a little bit nicer to list when we've got sort of good trading figures for all of our venues, and I think a little bit of distance from COVID, settling down is also going to be a nice thing. So what our plan is then is on the back of the good revenues, proven business model, patent, and a good clear path to growth. So when we list, what I'll be looking to do is actually acquire a good craft brand everywhere we build a hub. I didn't talk about the hub. So we call it a hub and spoke model. So the hub is the central facility. Jeff Mundy, our managing director, he hates it when I call it a factory. He says it's a brewery, and it is, right? It's a brewery, but it does the hot part of the process and it does the industrial part of the process. Where craft breweries fail is they put the whole thing, on High Street in Fremantle, which has got retail rent. Now, when you're running an industrial process, trucks and recycling water, all these sort of industrial process, and you're running it on a high street in the very heart of Fremantle where you're paying massive rents. Well, there's no surprise the brewery that did that went broke. On the flip side, we do that, our industrial process, where it should be done. And then we're rolling out venues, in the sort of places that people want to come to drink craft beer and bring their families and do all of those sorts of fun things that, is what the whole craft brewery scene is all about. So we're looking to build those hubs in all of the major capital centres around Australia. And once we maximise them with their 20 spokes for each one, that's 140 venues. So the maths that rolls out from that, if they're doing 100,000 litres and we're making not 17, let's call it $10 a litre margin. The numbers are pretty good. So we think the strategic plan that we've got going forward is pretty unique in the beer world. Hub and spokes have been done in other industries, but we're pretty excited.
So you've got the technology that's patented, it's protected. You've got the economic modes. You have the key client and market feedback already. You've done the due diligence you need to identify where in the chain you need to operate and maximize your chances to have a viable business model in an industry that traditionally doesn't, and you've done that well. So everything sounds good, and you've actually answered a lot of my questions in the way you've responded today. So let's have a parting question, a very simple one. How do people reach out to you? We're going to have your deal room on the side of the screen here, okay? They'll be speaking to you directly if they're interested in talking further. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is what I'm hopefully my next sort of 1-2 months we put this to bed. That's our plan, because we really want to get building. And look, we're presenting at the Emergence, well, I'm presenting at the Emergence conference in Sydney. I'd like to say yes. That's a tricky question. So the operators at the hotel have said it doesn't fit under their liquor license. I was happy to bring a couple of kegs with me, but anyway,
it's always outside the hotel. All right, but we'll see you there. And for those who are interested, we'll have the details on the side of the screen. And please feel free to reach out and talk further. Thank you so much for joining me today, Brad.
Yeah, thanks very much, Sydney. Awesome.